Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. All right, everybody. I'm back. Gonna be back. So tell you what, I want to go ahead and talk about a big football story. By the way, we are here, Circa Casino in Las Vegas. I was out here all week for the Players Era event. Yes, I have takes like everybody else. Some positive, some negative. We talked about it on the Tuesday show. If you're a college hoops fan, go ahead and check it out. I'm a little more dubious about this thing big picture than some. But let's go ahead and talk about some late breaking news that I actually got in a cab while I was here in Vegas at 12:38 Eastern, 9:38 Pacific, and it does involve my UConn Huskies, and it does involve the football program. Okay, so obviously, look, UConn football is a totally unique thing. They're an independent, no conference, whatever. But what is also indisputable is that Jim Mora, I think, has done as good of a coaching job as anyone in college football the last 2 years. If you're not a UConn fan and you're not following, 9 wins a season ago, beat UNC. They actually beat the brakes off of UNC in a bowl game. This year, finished the regular season. They do not play on rivalry weekend at 9-3 overall. Couple nice wins over ACC teams. They beat Duke, who I believe is still in the ACC title picture. And so this program is trending up like a rocket ship. But also over the last couple weeks, there has also been increased speculation that Jim Mora might be looking for an escape plan out of UConn. The thought process was he's from the West Coast. He's got a place in Idaho. I believe his new wife, he's been remarried, but I believe his wife is more West Coast based. And so there had been insinuation that the right West Coast job, if it opened, he could consider leaving. The one I've been worried about is Washington. If Jed Fish leaves, what about Cal that just opened? Obviously, Stanford has been open, and Jim Mora's name has been linked to all of them. The one place we did not see Jim Mora's name being linked at all was Colorado State, which brings us full circle to the cab that I was in at 12:38 Eastern, 9:38 here in Vegas, when I found out that Jim Mora did, in fact, accept the Colorado State job under the cloak of darkness Tuesday night into Wednesday. So I want to go ahead and talk about it, but just totally transparently, I think my take is a lot like a lot of UConn fans take. One, we are grateful. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I am certainly grateful for Jim Mora for what he did for the UConn football program. It's certainly in a better place than when he found it. I think the other side of that is pretty straightforward. Colorado State. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. By the way, we do have our Torres on UConn page, Torres on UConn for all of your late-breaking UConn news. If you do want to follow us on Twitter, Torres on UConn, okay? So let's go ahead and talk about more, because the one thing that is indisputable, he does leave a legacy at UConn because this was a program when he took over that was rudderless, okay? The Randy Edsall 2.0 did not work out. If you remember, UConn canceled its entire 2020 season because of COVID. They were the first program to cancel an FBS, expecting everybody else to do the same. They did not. They did not play games. I knew people within the program at the time that were frustrated, that were disappointed. Edsall comes back in 2021. It's a disaster. He's fired a few weeks in. And right away, Jim Mora comes in with a plan. I remember we interviewed him on the pod around that time, and he said, look, I want to do this. I want to do that. We want to go through the high school ranks. The portal was just kind of becoming a thing. But I bring it up because he came in with a plan, immediately elevates the program, 6 wins in year 1, Myrtle Beach Bowl. Everybody's excited. And then the last 2 years, it's been unbelievable, honestly. Like I said, 9 wins last year, 9-3 regular season this year, a chance for a 10-win season. And I think what's been so cool to watch from a distance is the ability to evaluate, the ability to develop, the ability to do all of the things that you need to do at a program at a really high level, right? Joe Fagnano, the quarterback, we had him on a few weeks ago. Unbelievable story. Started at FCS Maine, comes down, loses the job, gets it back, has one of the most statistically excellent seasons anywhere in college football this year. Skylar Bell comes in. He is one of the great wide receivers in college football. These are great evaluations, great development. Credit to the UConn, the people that work in the collective and all that to retain some of these star players. And so it just felt like this program was trending in such a positive direction. And I think that's what makes this so disappointing is, again, nothing lasts forever. You kind of felt like, okay, at some point Jim Mora is going to leave. And certainly there could have hypothetically been jobs that opened up that would interest him this year. I mentioned it a minute ago, but Jedd Fisch clearly trying to get out of Washington. We don't have to get into the semantics there, but if he gets the UCLA job, if he gets the Florida job, all of a sudden Washington opens. You say, Jim Mora coached the Seahawks, Pacific Northwest. That one makes sense. Maybe Stanford, it felt like ACC, it's a tough job. Would he really want it? But he'd have to consider it. But again, Colorado State, it's just shocking to me. I understand that they're one of the more well-resourced G5 programs, or, they reportedly are. They plan to be as they move to the new Pac-12. It doesn't change the fact that it is still a G5 job. And, like transparently, I'll just call a spade, like outside of, hey, moving back west, moving closer to that ranch in Idaho, it's not the job that any UConn fan expected him to leave for, and that's what makes it so disappointing. I think the big thing to me now, and this is the $64,000 question that everybody wants to know, who is going to be next at UConn? I don't know. Certainly, I don't know. I don't know because I don't think anyone at UConn knew that Jim Mora was going to be out the door. But by the way, even before we get to what's next, I think the sad part is that, listen, I'm recording here at 1:43 Eastern time on Wednesday, so maybe stuff is going to change. But this incredible season, this incredible story, this incredible group of guys, and the leader just disappears under the cloak of darkness. I think that's the sad part. I understand other guys take other jobs, but man, would I have liked to see him finish this season with these guys in a bowl game, get that 10th win, and if he ends up somewhere else, he ends up somewhere else. And so to just do it in what is essentially a bye week before UConn finds out in the next 10 days or so where they're going bowling, it just sucks. I mean, it just really, really sucks. And again, Colorado State, I understand he wanted to move on, but when you lose a coach, you want to hope that it's to a clearly better place, whatever. I'm rambling, whatever. Let's talk really quickly about what's next. And like I said, I'm not going to start speculating on names because if you go back to the original Jim Mora hire in 2022, it was completely off everybody's radar, right? Like I said, UConn fired Randy Edsall. I think I said 2022. I guess he was technically hired in 2021. So the fall of 2021, you go back to that time. Randy Edsall is fired in week 2, week 3, whatever it was. By the way, they ended up losing that year to Holy Cross of the FCS with Bob Chesney. I think that was Randy Edsall's final game. Kind of wild where Bob Chesney's life has gone since then. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm off topic. Let's get back on track. And let me just say a couple things. One, the last coaching search. Remember, Dave Benedict, the current AD, was the AD at that point. And it was really under the cloak of darkness. You'd hear names, you wouldn't hear names. I remember Al Golden was a name that was kind of linked to the job. And then all of a sudden, boom, 2-3 weeks left of the season, Jim Mora is your head coach at UConn. I remember, the Clemson game, they were playing Clemson late in the year and he traveled with the team and he was, meeting with the players and whatever. And so I don't like to even speculate what Dave Benedict is going to do feels like a fool's errand because he did that search under such a cloak of darkness, but I'll also give him credit. He did an unbelievable job finding the right guy at the right moment in time to lead this program. As far as everything else, the only other thing that I would say with Dave Benedict, with this AD, with this AD and with this search, Benedict to me, I think, like I saw, he's got a type, right? So I remember talking to Dave at the Final Four. We actually interviewed, we did an interview. I don't know if we ever ran it on the pod. I think there were some audio issues, but it was an on-the-record interview, so I'm not sharing any big secrets. But after UConn won its second national championship with, Dan Hurley, Donovan Kling and all those guys, whatever, I asked him, I said, what did you see in Dan Hurley that made you realize that he was the guy? And he's like, honestly, Aaron, it wasn't rocket science. Dan Hurley won it everywhere he's ever coached. He won at the high school ranks. He won at Wagner. He won at Rhode Island. And I knew, if we gave him what he needed to win here, which obviously UConn was going to do, he was going to win here. And so to me, if you look at those two hires, Jim Mora, established head coach, winner in multiple places, winner in the people forget he coached in an NFC championship game during his time in the NFL, won at UCLA. It didn't end well, but that was really after Josh Rosen got hurt and there was kind of a quick fall, whatever. The point I'm trying to make is that with Jim Mora, a guy who won at multiple different levels, Dan Hurley, a guy who won at multiple different levels. I will say really quick, because I'm just kind of rambling all off the top of my head here, I do think whoever is next does have to understand kind of the unique challenges of UConn. Obviously, listen, everybody talks about independent. It's not just, to me, independent. It's about, NIL is good. Like NIL for the G5 is fine, but I think you got to be smart. I think, listen, like everyone else, there's a Moneyball aspect to it, of evaluation, of development, of figuring out the right guys to retain. And so I just bring it up because I think if I'm Dave Benedict, yes, you probably want someone with head coaching experience. You probably want a program builder, but I want to make sure that they understand at this level, hey, it's about retention. It's about whatever, because this isn't, obviously a Texas Tech or a Texas or an A&M or an Ohio State or whatever, where if somebody's good, you just give them a blank check and say, do what you need to do to stay. So those are some quick thoughts on Jim Mora. I'm actually really hurt by it. Like the old Ed Reed, I'm hurt, dog. Don't ask me if I'm all right. It just sucks, man. He could have really gone down as a legend at UConn, but I understand he's got to do what's best for his family. I know in time I will be grateful for what he did, but man, oh man, it is such a bummer. Yeah, it sucks. 12:30. What was I say? 12:30. It was either 12:34 or 12:38. I can't remember. 12:38 Eastern time in a cab. Colorado State. I can't believe it. All right. Appreciate your support. Thank you, by the way, again to Circa Casino. If you're ever in Vegas, this is the place to watch games, to check things out. I'm at Stadium Swim right now. That's the outdoor pool with the cool setup. We got a basketball right behind me. Thank you to Circa for having me. We appreciate your support. If I don't talk to you, have a happy Thanksgiving.